Roles of a denizen. A content creator is a user that creates posts and is rewarded based on the quality of their content. A content evaluator is a user that helps assess the quality of content and enforces community standards. The evaluator is effectively taking part in a marketplace to curate content and is rewarded for early evaluation. A content consumer is a user that wishes to find and consume the most valuable content in a given subject area or within a community. A lair owner is a person holding tokenized ownership of all or part of a community lair. Owners are rewarded with a portion of all mining activity happening within their lair. Owners are incentivized to build the best community of content creators and evaluators.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the DENDAO governance call for March 23rd, 2023. We do this every Thursday at 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific, and that is now. So here we are. Quick reminder, we do have a link at the top of the agenda, which is over in the DENDAO layer on Den.Social. If anybody wants to join the call, this is open to all denizens who want to participate. If you have a Den account and you have been, and you've been using it at all, you do have some weight in the DENDAO governance. So whenever you see DENDAO proposals, you can vote on those, even if you don't hold any ownership tokens for the DAO that show up in the layer. All of Den's denizens who use the platform get a behavior-based weight in the governance. So you are part of DENDAO, so you're welcome to join and collaborate and talk about all the things. So yeah, that's over in the DENDAO layer on Den.Social. Click it if you want to join. We've got Joe. How you doing?
Hello.
We've got Greg. How you doing?
Doing well.
And we got myself. So we had a pretty good World Blockchain show that wrapped. If you didn't see that earlier, it was interesting. We did a Twitter Spaces afterwards. Check that out. All of us were on that. We didn't get to talk about canaries some more because Joe brought up canaries in reference to talking about Den. And I had, maybe if I think about it, I'll throw something in there at the end of the agenda about that, because I had an idea and a thought. All right, so LCP results are in. That's at the top of the agenda. We'll check those out in a second. Those will be live Monday, probably. If your layer didn't win that you wanted to get created, you can still get those created through the alternative like fee-based system that we have. So I'll talk about that in a minute. And then we want to touch on tagging. There's a couple of ideas and things to discuss with tagging, as well as the status of the mobile app. And then we'll move on to community feedback and input if you have anything that wasn't discussed leading up to that. Good afternoon, Hyperion Frequency. Thank you for joining us over in chat. So with that, results, man. We got results. We've got really good layers. Military equipment, which it has been in there for a while, bouncing around, because I remember seeing that for a while.
Yeah.
I'll be able to write about some stuff that I have experience with in there, so that's cool. I didn't propose that one, but I did vote in. I think I have like a 2 or 9% stake in it, which would be cool. So maybe I'll go in and write some articles about tomahawks or about harpoons or about the 5-inch gun. All my experience working in weapons department in the Navy. I used to be an M60 gunner. I used to be a 50 caliber Browning machine gun gunner. So that'll be a cool layer that I don't know. I'm happy that I have something that I can contribute intelligently to, at least. Vomilo, thanks for proposing that one. April of 22, almost a year, just not quite, almost a year to get that one in. That was by unique voters, by the way. So the other category is lore committed. number 8, and number 21. So number 8 was Change My View. That's I remember back when I used to be on Reddit a lot. That was one on Reddit that was actually really good that I thought was an interesting, like, people got into the meat of discussions in a meaningful way because they really were trying to convince somebody that they were either right or wrong or should look at it from a different perspective and that kind of thing. So we can, I don't know, try that out on Den, see how it goes. Thanks for proposing that, Greg, by the way. That's your layer proposal.
I'm super excited because I got that one to essentially suck Austin in away from Reddit because it's his favorite sub. So, we should be able to have some neat responses from Austin coming in on that because he loves that topic.
Good. And then maybe he can help us, tell us how to run it too. If he's a big fan of that subreddit, which it's a good one. It's a good community. He can let us know like what's worked for them and, how it should be organized to be successful based on his experience with them.
Yep.
And
I will certainly be talking to him about how his experiences with it have gone on Reddit so that we can do it better.
Yes.
That's something that I fully intend to want to have happen because there are some awesome things about it when it works right, but there's a lot of ways that it gets subverted, and I think we can do better.
Cool. Yeah, I guess that's kind of what I meant too, or partially what I meant, because there's a lot of things that are like, well, Reddit does this way, but if they did it like this, it'd be better. And that's how it is on Den, the better way.
Yep, exactly.
Cool. And then, of course, I Am proposed in March. He just proposed it. The Umbrella Promise movement layer. That might possibly be the fastest proposal to winner layer that we've seen so far. If not, it tied for the first, I'm sure. But that's cool.
It's a cool idea, man. It is
It's a great idea. We've talked about it several times on World Blockchain. We've talked about it in the politics layer. Juicy J, what's up? Thanks for joining us. We've talked about it in a couple of places on Den and off of Den a little bit. And it's such a good idea that I really want to take advantage of the fact that it's a recent proposal because it has 8 unique voters, all of which have very recently put in their votes for it. One of the things that I've seen an issue with that we've talked about before has been that a lot of layers that get created a year, 2 years after it's been proposed, half of the owners aren't around anymore because they left for whatever reason and don't check into Den anymore. But with this one, everybody's here, so we can have everyone participate, maybe run a tight ship, and really dig into what can be done using Den's system. And speaking of, I Am looks like he's going to join us. We were just talking about your proposal that won in the LCP. So good timing.
Okay. Thank you.
Man.
Appreciate that. My apologies for being late.
No, that's all right. Thanks for joining us. I was just saying that we can take advantage of the fact that this one's shipping without any dead weight in the ownership arena.
Yeah.
Right? Arena? Group? Collection of owners? Whatever you want to call that. Basically, It's a new proposal. So all 8 of the unique voters should be active in governance to make that let's take it seriously and really do it. Let's put let's put some politicians in office that use a DAO to direct them. Let's do it. Yeah.
Right.
So
I'm excited. I've been talking with a political consultant, I should say, last week, and started looking into creating a PAC. So all of these things will be getting updated as we go.
Wow.
And I need to form a nonprofit. So there's a lot going on, and just starting to get the speed up. So
nice.
Yeah. So I'm gonna run with this and take it serious.
Well,
and then come out complete with name and everything. So against my son's advice.
Can we officially say that you've been converted from black pill to white pill?
Yeah, this is actually kind of like my last bastion of hope is in the system.
I feel you on that, and that's kind of what I'm looking at too. Is it's like, okay, this is a good idea, and it would be a disservice to not give it an honest shot.
Yeah,
see where it goes. You know what I mean?
That's what I've been told.
You upped my my white pill level with the creation of it and the idea behind it. So for what it's worth,
Thank you.
It's already spreading optimism in a way that that's kind of permanent and tangible.
Thank you. Well, we will definitely all be working towards that goal. Correct. So I'm excited. I'm excited, and I think things here at home will start getting back to normalcy. And that way I can, and being retired, I can spend a lot of time on this.
I'm assuming 4 of the 8 are right here. So we can talk about this more once the layer goes live. Yes. That'll be Monday. Yes. But then, we can even use the chat room.
Oh, that would be great.
Because nobody uses those really.
That would be great.
Yeah. It's back, right?
What's that?
It's back, correct?
Yeah, it's back. Yes. Well, actually, I haven't checked chat. DMs are back anyway. But that's not on the agenda. We had an issue with DMs for a minute there, but they're back. I was using them this morning. I did notice I had to do a hard refresh, clear my cache on my browser before they started working again for whatever reason. Hyperion Frequency, I sent you a DM regarding meeting up tomorrow, cut some clips out of some of the stuff that we do on Den. I guess I'll quickly hit on that since it's related to Den and marketing and stuff. So Hyperion Frequency volunteered to help cut some interesting clips out of the shows that happen on Den every week. World Blockchain Roundtable, Coffee with Den,
wow, cool.
Super Happy Dragon Lucky. If anything interesting happens on this meeting, could include that as well. That's how I know the DMs are working, because I just DM'd Hyperion Frequency. And so we'll meet up maybe on Fridays and look at the week and cut stuff out. And then we can just talk about where to share those. And then we'll let the community know where the clips are if they want to share them themselves too. And so that way there's like some little nuggets for somebody that don't want to sit through 2 hours of conversation or don't know what it's about. They can maybe see the highlight reel, and that'll get them interested too. So that was a really good idea. Thanks for volunteering to help out with that.
Yes, great idea.
That's awesome, man. Thank you. Let me know when you get a new clip up, and I will volunteer to be the first person to turn it into a derivative work.
Yeah, we're not going to do all that and then keep it a secret, so you'll know.
That's awesome.
So cool. There's LCP. If you want to go look at what's in the list for next month, of course, the ones that don't win don't go anywhere. They stay there for the next month. And I will quickly show by unique voters the runners up. These are the 5 that are eligible to be created between now and Monday. If you email support and you say, hey, for example, I want to create the vegan layer because it didn't win, and I don't want to sit around waiting for it to win, next month, the following month, next year, whenever it gets enough unique voters, you can go ahead and pay 2 for 600 matter, and that'll get created. So starting with the runner-up, it's 200 matter to get this one created. It is 400 matter for true crime, 600 for vegan, 800 for Dragon Chain social influencers, and 1,000 for 3D printing. And of course, the other category is anything over 8 unique voters. So if I scroll all the way down to building, construction, and trades, that's actually, we do have some community here for that category. I wonder who proposed that. If you want if you want construction and trades and you don't want to wait for other people to share ownership, you can go ahead and create that too. That's a 2,500 matter fee on that one. So that's one of the things you can use matter for. If you're wondering, what do I get this what's this matter used for that I've been earning? That's one of them. And of course you generate energy with it, and you increase your DENDAO voting weight with it, and all that stuff happens automatically. You don't have to think about it. So cool. There's the notes on that. Let me go back to the agenda.
To you, Greg, for the podcast, the Joe Rogan podcast kind of layer. So.
Oh, I don't think it's in. We got Change My View in.
Close. Change My View one.
Oh,
yeah.
Right, that's right.
Yeah.
We saw that on
Although, now you're making me wonder. Now you are making me wonder if there ought to be a video element to Change My View. Like maybe there should be like a live debate that's Change My View, like a show that we do once a month or something.
I could see a Change My View conversation being very much like a long form Joe Rogan conversation.
Oh yeah,
I think it's
true.
more interesting change my view is more interesting though as a threaded forum discussion, because then a bunch of people can get in and
I agree.
Branch off with different opinions. And with the way that Den is, the community gets to evaluate everyone's input on changing your view. You know what I mean?
The question is, does the top argument get a featured debate at the end of the month?
Well, maybe the top argument does. And that's something that we can
Crypto Joe Rogan.
Get an invite to Crypto Joe Rogan.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I want to take it in new directions if those new directions are popular among the voters. So
cool.
How many unique are on that, by the way?
For that one, it was 23.
No, I'm on Crypto Joe.
Crypto Joe. On Crypto Joe, we've got 10 unique voters.
Well, so it could be created.
It could be created. If you didn't get your, I don't know. I got too much of that one. I don't like having more than like 10, 15%, but it looks like I've got quite a bit more. But I'm okay with that because that's one that I would definitely dive in and make time for.
Give away.
Well, the other thing too is though, maybe what I need to do is develop the idea better and update the proposal to be sufficiently robust that it draws more people, so I'm going to think about that before I just jump into making it, because maybe it needs to be fleshed out more before people get behind it. And maybe
you've got at least one more month to do that because it didn't win, unless you pay to create it over the weekend.
Yeah, we'll see what happens,
or if anybody pays to create it.
Right, I was getting ready to say.
I have too much too. I mean, I would rather wait and let somebody. But if it was created, I would just. We could create some mechanism where you could give away some of that lot, even though it's LCP. Mm-hmm. Just because I would donate a bunch, but
I'm down to. I mean, certainly down if people want to make that idea happen. I'm down to make it happen too. So certainly not trying to duck it because I'm worried about not wanting to do it anymore or anything like that. So
awesome.
Yeah.
Can we find out the value of lore in terms of matter? So the answer is yes. I don't know how to do that right now. You'd have to so both of those are currently on Uniswap on an ether pair. So there's a matter ether and there's a lore ether. So with that you can get the value the market value of matter in ether and the market value of lore in ether, and then do the math to see how much matter per lore that is, or vice versa. So
find the value of X.
Yeah, I don't feel like doing that right now, but that's how I would do it.
There you go.
That is something though that
that would be a good
leaderboard option, but like something in the
or in the cryptocurrency, someone to post that every once in a while. Hey, here's the value of.
Yeah, that's a good point. In the cryptocurrency layer, or the what's the day trading layer? The trading lounge layer or something.
Trading lounge.
Yeah, those people know how they convert between different currencies and assets all the time, as part of the speculation. So that's probably a good crowd to ask for that as well. Cool. So let's see what else we got in the agenda here. Also, no problem, Juicy J. I did a little demo on how to add tags and how to do a governance thing on Coffee with Den on Wednesday. So maybe that's something that we cut out. Hype Freak and I can cut that clip out or something tomorrow.
Oh, there you go. That's a good one.
Now, tagging behavior. I brought this up earlier with a couple of DENDAO members whenever I was thinking about how Den handles banning people from layers. Right now, the way it works is the theory is that if you're downvoting someone a lot or they're spamming the board and you don't want to see what they're contributing, you can block them, and that blocks them from your personal view, from your account, to where other people will still see them, but you won't have to be bothered with that. So if you want to weed out some of the noise, and if you think that one particular denizen is noisy in a particular layer, you can block them. It only blocks them in that layer, So let's say they're doing giving decent content in the history layer, but they're spamming up the whatever layer, right? You can block them in a particular layer and they just don't show up for you there. It still gives you it tells you like, there's like a small line where you can click it and see what's been blocked still. It doesn't completely eliminate it, but it effectively does. Now, when enough people do that in the same layer to the same denizen, it's signaling to Den that this person is producing unwanted content for that particular community. And so the algorithm just says, okay, cool, well, we'll block them from this layer. So we don't have like an individual person that's throwing the ban hammer kind of thing. What we have is a decentralized effort to signal to the system, hey, there's unwanted behavior from this particular account every time they like 15 people have blocked them, so then it'll just auto ban. And that auto ban threshold is configurable in the settings whenever you go through to like make a GI, to make a governance proposal. In the same place where you would change the avatar, you would change the reputation settings, you can change this threshold. I think by default it's set to 13. The issue I had with that was I don't like to block people, and a lot of people don't like to block people. I don't feel like I want to put blinders on, and I would put up with the noise and put up with the annoyances just to see what's out there. Like, I don't personally care enough, and it doesn't offend me when somebody says things I don't like. I just keep scrolling. Maybe that comes from just being on the internet for as long as I have. I'm just very accustomed to noise, So, with tagging, 2 points. That's a long intro to 2 points. One of them is maybe we should use the same system where it's either, this person's been blocked by 13 different accounts, or they've crossed some threshold of the smart tags. So if you remember, we have 3 smart tags officially. One of them is not safe for work, which only will blur the imaging, not the text. We have spam and abuse, and both of those blur both the image and the text that's in the post. So I was thinking, well, why don't we use the smart tags more? It could make sense that if somebody continuously gets tagged with consensus, which is important because the tags, you vote on them as well. If you have consensus tags over and over that it's abusive or that it's spam, maybe that should act the same way as like blocking someone, so that somebody like me, who doesn't like to block people but will accurately tag things as spam and abuse, can still signal to the system like, hey, this account is producing unwanted behavior. And the second part of that would be every now and then we get a joker who thinks it's funny to misuse the smart tags because they do blur content. And so we'll see, it's pretty quickly corrected, but if you ever see like a red spam tag or a red abuse tag on a piece of content, it means it was initially tagged by someone as spam or abuse, but then the community disagreed with that and voted on the tag with the down, voted it down. And consensus was that is not an appropriate tag for that content. And if the same person continuously abuses the smart tagging system, in other words, they mislabel things intentionally against consensus just to make it blurred or just to try to censor it, that could be a behavior that's mapped to this feature as well, depending on how many times they do it or whatever. So huge long intro and like explanation of what that one item on the agenda means. But what do y'all think about all of that?
Oh, I think it's great. I'm glad we've introduced that. Down the road, we're going to want to be able to search tags, but that's for a different conversation. My only question is, what about reputation and mistagging? Is there any kind of link that happens that way?
The standard reputation settings come from
the
people's evaluations and votes on your content.
Yeah.
Right.
I need to double check and see if that applies for tags. I don't actually know right now offhand.
I believe now here. I would bet. Well, I would assume it doesn't, but at the same time, the tag voting, the tag eval is it's included in the same data structure that the content is. It's treated like content, and the only difference is that you can't have a variable energy applied. It's so I don't remember.
And because the tags came later in the life cycle of Den, there actually is not a reputation setting to say someone can or can't tag.
Right.
So that's not in there.
Yeah.
We
could potentially plug that in though to the content. That if you can't reply, you can't tag.
That's true. That's true.
Something else.
Yeah.
Well, I wonder if there might not be some useful extension here. I mean, you always hate to go to bolting something new on as a solution to something that already exists, but this strikes me as almost a maybe an opportunity for a layer owner type of account level tag, where somebody can be tagged with mistagging if they get enough of a down rating on that.
Yeah, that's something I think that some form of that will come. There's a lot of stuff that if I could wave a magic wand right now and get the whole roadmap implemented, one of the things in there is the idea of flags, and the flag can contain a bunch of information about that denizen. And that could be a dynamic thing where you have like maybe on the top of the flag you have stars that correspond to your economic reputation, whereas on the bottom you have stars that correspond to your content reputation or your eval, something like things, meaningful data that say this person tends to be really helpful versus this person tends to get the spam tag attached to them a lot. Or just any kind of thing you can throw on that's useful.
Well, the way that I would imagine it is just based on my experience with the Twitter community notes. When they first implemented that under the Twitter 2.0 Musk flavored paradigm, they kicked everybody back down to not being able to write. So you couldn't write unless you had a certain reputation. And the way you developed that reputation was by rating other comments. So they had people writing historic comments, and once you earned enough rating on that, then you can start writing again, and then your writing getting highly ranked could either grow your reputation or kick you back down to where you had to go back to rating, sort of like a penance for writing screwy notes.
One of the things that we have a unique ability to do on Den is to use historical consensus data on stuff, where we can say, like, if you've been in or against, with or against consensus over the past X number of, this period, then whatever you want to say about that, but that stuff's all in there. And that's
the idea of programmed penance for misbehaviors or counter-social behaviors that people can vote into the government, right? Like if you can do something to redeem yourself as opposed to just you're blacklisted until somebody says you're not.
The two things there are that it's much better if you tie it to an organic signal than if you say, hey, we want you to, because then people know why I'm rating this. I'm rating this to get this person banned or not. It's much more organic if it's tied to, I don't think it's spam, right? Not related to the person. And then the other is the windowing that one of the big things is we see it with especially a lot of the spam tag attack stuff that, it might be for a few hours that it's still a spam until you get some reasonable number of votes. And it's a pretty well balanced system where it doesn't like 50-50s are intelligently displayed, but essentially, we can't make a decision on 2 hours or even 6 hours of data that might ban somebody. So it has to be like, okay, that piece of content was spam or wasn't spam after 24 hours. Therefore, we can count it. And then the other side, like what you mentioned specifically, and we're doing this with governance, with DENDAO governance, that you might have a horrible reputation today, but over time, the effect of your historical reputation is attenuated. That as the window of time moves forward, you're essentially forgiven for back
like a
when you
moving
didn't
weighted
know.
average type of thing.
Yep.
The correct sort of,
Yeah.
if you leave your bad behavior behind,
Yeah.
your past doesn't follow you forever.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so that's built in already to the DENDAO governance. Like when you get your vote based upon all those things, it's windowed like that, and it's really useful.
What I hope we can see is like, if you're bad at tagging or you like maliciously tagging spam, the penance that can get you redeemed from lair jail if the community that runs that lair votes it in. The penance you do is you've rated enough tags with consensus, and then you can unlock your ability to tag again.
But the bad part about that is once you are banned, we're not going to get any more data from you about that. So, and you might be fine in other places. That's why I think it's not a horrible thing to say, look, it's a one-way ticket, to jail on that. And, it is a DAO, so you could be voted back in, or, if who knows what circumstances, but it would have to then be
and this would only be really useful for like, circumstances where it's a pretty big gray area. Like let's say you were running a layer called spam and you incorrectly applied the spam meaning not a spam post. Like there's no spam in this post, so you're spamming the spam layer. But
well, there is
that's sort of like
there's
a nuance to it.
Because I think Dave, when we spoke about it, we were saying, okay, maybe it's fixed number of things within a window of time, but it might be some amount of a fixed number of things and greater than a certain percentage of all the content that you are posting. Like say if you're posting 100% spam, if you're posting 3,000 posts a month, and you get 8 of them that were marked spam, that's probably not as bad as if you only posted 10.
Yeah, that's so the windowing and the ability to heal a reputation, that stuff's already in DENDAO, of course. It's also in the first iteration that we have running of the evaluator reputation system, where if you end up with a reduced reputation because of your evaluation behavior, if you simply stop that behavior, you heal from it, right? And that system's working okay right now, actually. So I like that.
Awesome.
And then similarly, whenever I was recently, I posted 2 new leaderboards. One of them was top evaluators, and one of them was top taggers. The evaluators one was more difficult for me to. I got some help from Joe and from one of the other back end devs too to get this working properly and objectively, but it's interesting because there's like subjective rankings based that we have to figure out an objective scoring for them, right? But anyway, with tagging, I was learning how to work with the on-chain tagging data, and it's pretty straightforward to say like, okay, within this window, how many times have you? Number one, obviously we can tell the difference between the person that proposed the tag versus people that are voting on it. So I made 2 different categories for that. You can see how many times you've proposed something that was against consensus in the end versus how many times you proposed a tag that was with consensus, which means you're doing a good job. All that stuff can be used in interesting and useful ways. So yeah, I don't know why I said that other than to say all that info is there available to us to use.
Potentially you could use, let's say for the banning offense of mistagging. So I mark everything spam, and then I'm 99% of the time wrong about marking it spam. That maybe the secondary check could be, okay, let's look at that, and let's look at the rest of your eval rep in this layer. It's bad in both counts, you're out, right? As long as you hit certain levels. It could be used as secondary instead of
what I'm not sure about still. I think I do lean one way already, but should we get into complicating things by saying, okay, you lose privileges to tag in this one layer if you do this, and this, Or is it all just tied to the banning thing? It's like, all right, if you come in here and you're trying, if you're against consensus consistently, then it's a bannable offense, just like any other bad behavior.
I would say, I'll let everybody else say, but I would say if we had unlimited resources, I would fully love to entertain a more atomic approach. But given limited resources, it's like, yeah, it's just as simple to say, look, this person obviously is just creating trouble in this community. They shouldn't be there, and it's a one-way thing unless the community proactively says no, we want to keep this guy in there because we think it's funny when he spams stuff, whatever. But it's kind of a nice thing because then it's just they're gone, and it's that's it. You're voted off the island. There's no way back.
Simple enough.
I agree. Keep it simple.
If we did at one point do anything at all, I would be more inclined to lean towards like, let's make this pluggable so that any layer that wanted to get fancy with the spices could introduce a plugin to the DAO and vote for it for their own layer, such that their system was different. But
that's the idea.
They would have to engage in the resources expenditure to like develop it and get it figured out.
I'm going to be back. I'll be back.
Okay.
Yeah, which might be super easy these days because they might be able to just ask GPT-4 to write it for them or something.
Yep. Well, and that's the point too. We want, and this is a long time. The vision is to say that a layer will have a very flexible API that they could write smart contracts for certain interactions. So when somebody does something, they could write code in that would customize their layer in full, including integrating with other systems like, multi-sig wallets or something else on the outside. So all of those things are planned, and frankly, we just need to get a little bit further and open source some stuff, and then put a nice interface in for it. It should be relatively doable.
Awesome. Yeah. So in that case, like keeping it simple for now means that's just going to be easier to plug in later. So that's where I would stay.
Cool. And I agree with all of that. And that's the way I was leaning on it already. So I think you probably just convinced me there. Those last comments from Joe are a good segue into the next and final item on the agenda, which is the status of the mobile app. If you have been using the mobile app a lot, you may have noticed that you can't log in with the mobile app since we have changed the login system, the auth system that we use on Den. And Joe, do you want to talk about that?
Sure.
Okay.
So we in fact, I think we forgot about it because we don't have, we lost our mobile app dev, right? And so we basically said, okay, limited resources, let's just put that on hold for now. On top of the fact I think everybody on the team has this kind of this negative feeling about some of it because we know at some point it's going to get worse, but it was already approaching pretty decent silliness on both Google and Apple telling us different things that they wanted to see in the app. And every time we told them, oh yeah, no, we have like say being able to, block someone or being able to, I can't remember. There were a bunch of them that were things that you would want.
They wanted us to put stuff in that we already had, but we're just doing it in a way that they don't typically do it or see it done. And so there was a lot of back and forth with both Google and Apple to the point where they were just dictating like design decisions.
Right. How much of it was geared towards just like, and I don't know if you're allowed to say this or not as fully as you might like to, but how much of this was really like, hey, you don't understand why you let users do this or why this algorithm isn't based on data that you were capturing, curating, and generating. Right?
There's some of that. There's some of that. There's some of that. They wanted, for example, they had us put in a more direct way for someone to go outside of our consensus system to flag people's content for whatever reason. You know what I mean? Like we already have a moderation system. Basically what they wanted was another moderation system on top of that overrides it.
Right, one that would make
Yeah.
sense in the context of the Twitter files if they ever got interested enough in Den.
Exactly, that was it. And there was there was a lot where they didn't know where something was, right? But then there was a lot that you could kind of tell where they're heading, and the feedback was very how do I say, spotty. Like you wouldn't,
Right.
you'd respond and then you wouldn't get info back, and
I bet it drove them nuts that they'd say, well, we need something algorithmic and mathematically consistent for this, for X, Y, or Z, content moderation behavior. They're like, oh yeah, no, we've got that here. Pay attention.
And we would send them screenshots, dude.
Right.
We sent them. I remember I personally made a bunch of screenshots to answer that, to be like, no, we do have that. You're just not looking. You're not using the app
Right.
and looking for it.
Right.
And sometimes they were. Yeah, and sometimes it was the case because you could tell by the screenshots that they would send back to us that they were looking at the app without being logged in, which if you look at the Twitter app, you don't have the tools, for example, unless you're logged in. That kind of thing.
And as an example, on a different app, when we Dragon Chain did that Safe Pass app, it was a similar situation, but we essentially did advanced ID stuff with Dragon Factor that allowed us to allow users to hold their own data, including their at the time the COVID test data, right? And they were holding it. Like, we didn't have it. All we had was the proof that was the real data. So when they then showed it to someone, authorities or whoever in their region was supposed to be looking at a score, it didn't even need to show the test. It just needed to show they score green or whatever, and then so you can go into work, right? That was the whole point of it. And we brought this in. We had the app built really fast, and when it was submitted, we had to wait longer than normal, both for Google and Apple. It was over 30 days. We had this app built in a week, and we had to wait like 5 times longer than it took us to build it to get it actually published, because they were colluding. Google and Apple and IBM were colluding to make everyone use the same API, where essentially your HIPAA data would be flowing through. And we said, no, we are not holding any. And they were like, wait, and we had to prove to them that we were HIPAA compliant. We even had on the back end, it was just crazy. And it took us a long time because they didn't want to do it, because they wanted to be able to basically gather all of that data.
Right.
And
and that's the problem with the old paradigm understanding Web3 really is, like, they don't get the idea that you can do this in a way that achieves your goals with mathematical levels of probabilistic certainty without having anything invasive. And it sort of goes against the mindset of the bureaucrat with, like, how do we make sure to punish people for misbehaving? Well, it does it automatically.
And so for the mobile app, the long-term goal, as with Den itself, would be to get the entire thing open sourced, or at least in phased approaches where maybe some algorithms stay closed until they can be verified. But either way, the mobile app is very simple. There's a public API that it hits. We would like to get it documented, potentially open source that the app. And it is, by the way, the architecture is Flutter based, so it's the same code base for iOS as Android, with some moderate changes in some of the structure, but it compiles from the same set of code. And so if anybody is a Flutter hacker or would love to get into Flutter, we'd be open to saying, and even in the interim, say, hey, let's at least get you in there, and we can get it open sourced in time or whatever. But that would be a way to start contributing now. And I would offer up lore bounties and matter bounties if anybody wants to do that, right? So
and I would say Rivet will also contribute any RPC connectivity to chains that we support for that effort. Like up to obviously we got to put a limit on it, but we would certainly make sure that anybody who wanted to build it and wanted to interact with Polygon or ETH at the same time,
awesome.
would have support.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you for that. And that's the kind of thing that's what I want ultimately is, eventually more and more open sourced, but in the interim, at least have the API documented. And maybe you have to apply to use the auth system so that we can, get your app. If you want to build spin your own app, for example, I would love to have it to where anybody can design any website or app that is like their version of Den, for example, or even if you have an app idea that wants to use just one layer embedded in your app as your forum or something like that. So,
right, or just a governance app that only has governance management
yeah,
stuff in
or
it
or
like
whatever you want, right? So I guess the takeaway there is the mobile app is a time and resource sink, and a lot of the resources being sapped by current events there's priorities with the SEC case. There's priorities with the standard browser website itself, and so the app. If we can get someone to work on that open source, fantastic. If not, we might have to look at it again once Dragon Chain wins their SEC case. Once there's a different environment in the US, maybe, and we have more resources to work on it, one way or the other. But for right now, the existing mobile apps on ICE use your web browser to log in, or a computer with a web browser. The web browser on your phone works just fine.
Damn you, Gensler.
You
ruined it.
Yeah,
I'm probably like one of the biggest users of that mobile app, so I'm just gonna have to save a link to the web app on my home screen now.
Yeah, you can, if you have a more recent like Android phone, I know that you can actually embed the website as an app on, and use it as an app, but it really still just uses the web browser on the back, on the whatever end. So there's options there, but to be honest with you, I've ever since we went through all of that with Google and Apple with the mobile app, I just stopped using it. It just kind of put a bad taste in my mouth. So I can tell you 100% that the mobile browser on your phone works just fine, and I use it for Den all the time. So just use that. And with that, free for all community feedback. We got a few minutes, not many, but if there's anything else you want to talk about, now is the time for that.
I was just going to say the current Matter price is 0.0332 US dollar shitcoin per Matter.
Yeah, so that's
roughly 3 cents.
One side of the equation for Hyperion Frequencies question.
Yeah, if we can find lore, then we can have an answer to that question relatively quickly. But I'm having trouble looking.
Well, there's a ton. There's billions of lore out there, so there's going to be a much smaller number.
Yeah, Uniswap doesn't want to find it when I search token pairs. So
no, you got to look at Etherscan.
Oh, okay, well, that's nice of them to do.
Yeah, Uniswap filters out anything that isn't heavily traded on centralized exchanges. In fact, if you put in the contract address for Matter, and you've never used Uniswap before and you haven't saved any like advanced settings or anything, it'll say, warning, this asset is not traded on centralized exchanges. Make sure you know what you're doing. So it doesn't even show up when you search for lore or Matter. You got to either use, there's a link actually in the wallet area of your Den account. There's a link at the bottom for lore and for Matter that will auto-populate Uniswap for you, so that you know it's the right token. Or you can look it up on Etherscan and copy the address into Uniswap that way, and it's on the Ether pair. It's not on USD or USDC or T or whatever those like infinite number of stable coins are called. It's the Ether pairing.
Okay, it looks like the answer is it's about 2,125 lore per dollar ish. That's like close-ish. It's like about 2,000 a buck. So anybody know
0.0005, and you said 0.03.
Yep.
Divided by 0.0005. Hyperion frequency. It looks like you would get about 60 lore per Matter, if I'm doing the math right. That's just really quick in a calculator app, but we did it live like you asked for.
Nice. I have one item to add in the feedback or updates. as you know, with my laptop going back and forth between two ISPs in our home and VPN services, I found I kind of gave up on. For whatever reason, the cookies locking me out and not updating. Was it Vivaldi is working very well for me. So
Vivaldi is
it's a browser. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
I gave up kind of on brow, the Firefox and Brave, and I think Vivaldi's been working out really well. So I don't know where the cookie management is and locking me up. But since last, it worked great for a while, and then this last update, I did have another time where I had moved in the house from one ISP to another with a laptop, and boom, I got locked again, where I could only upload one. It's really strange.
That's strange to me. Yeah, because you should be able to do that just fine. Because like if you go to a coffee shop or you go to the parking lot at a McDonald's to use the Wi-Fi or anything like that, it should be there's no issue there. Really, there shouldn't be. But Vivaldi, good to know. I use Firefox on 3 different platforms. I use Brave on mobile. Those work for me, but that's just my specific case. I don't know, what the use patterns are that differ there. Yeah. I don't know why going between ISPs would matter, but I guess it might somehow. I don't know.
You're not logging out and then walking with the laptop.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but even the thing is with like even if there's a failure to authenticate after you move it over for whatever reason, the system, in my experience, just kicks me out and makes me log in again, which works fine. So I don't know why it's doing that to you. I don't know.
I don't know. But shout out to Vivaldi.
Shout out to Vivaldi. I'll have to check it out. I don't know them. I don't know them. I was looking at a bunch of.
Y'all Weird had suggested it in a post.
Okay.
And I go, hey, I'll try it. So.
Well, thanks for the recommendation. Check it out. Yeah, I've been looking through different browsers and stuff too. I like Mozilla a lot, but there's a lot of things that I have to go in the about config and like change specifically to my sort of OCD standards. So yeah,
on mobile, Opera is not bad too, and they have some integrated wallet features that are pretty solid.
As much as I love open source software and stuff, for a closed browser, Opera fucking rocks. I like them a lot. They tend to be one of the first companies to try out new web technologies. You can thank them for like some of the things that modern browsers have today. Even they were one of the first ones to have an Ethereum wallet baked into their browser. That I've used it on Den. Actually, it works, even though it's not MetaMask. So and shout out to them.
Super neat UI too. They were the first people I've ever seen to take like everybody's first. Why don't they have for smartphones a bubble menu that expands circles out? Well, yeah, they've got that. They let you. They
try out some
UI,
cool stuff.
UX designers try out neat things, so they're worth checking out.
Yep, they're tinkerers. They experiment with all the new stuff and the new ideas. So yeah, try out all the browsers. Maybe that's what we can wrap up with as a suggestion to, I don't know what layer it would belong in, but reviewing browsers in the context of Den, what works, what doesn't work. Because I would be really interested to know, just even if it's just anecdotal experience reports, which browsers have, for example, a built-in Ethereum wallet that works. Right. I had a good experience with Opera until it didn't work anymore. I don't know if it works again today or not. I know Brave has an option for Web3 Opera, like an Ethereum wallet in the browser. I know that I think MetaMask has its own browser for mobile, for example. All those kinds of things. A report on it would take a while to compile that report, but some kind of a browser review.
Maybe somebody will suggest
advice. That's a good one. Advice.
When we get our change my view layer going, maybe we can start off with a debate about
what's the best browser,
which one's the best browser to use Den in.
Yeah.
And then we can get people to say like, I think it's this. Change my view.
Hype Freak suggested the advice layer. That's not bad either. So if you want advice on what browser to use for Den, here's my experience ranked somehow. Yeah, if somebody wants to do that, that'd be great. I'd throw my energy on that post.
Cool.
So, Cool. Unless there's anything else, I'll run through the reminders.
I wanted to say we should. I don't have the full info. I know that we have a canary for profile, a canary for every layer, and a canary for the site itself, full site. I know that you can get your personal canary in the request, like if you go into the inspection on your browser and look at the request when you go to the profile page, there's an actual field that says canary, and if the canary's alive, it'll say chirp, and that's it. I don't know, and I've asked, and we'll have to wait till tomorrow or maybe next show. I don't know where the layer one is accessible and the site one. I used to know, but I'd have to.
So at least your personal canary, it's not rendered on the UI, but it does come in when you load the page normally on your personal page. And that's what I wanted to say earlier. Was we were talking about canaries in the traditional context with the web, as far as like some indication that something has happened with your account, without being specific. But another form of canary that I think is something that should probably be included in the proof reports once we have that put in would be a proof canary. Does this match the proof? Right? Does this content match the proof that's behind it? And if it ever fails its proof check, then the canary dies, kind of thing. So what is a canary? A canary, real quick, is basically, if you think about miners in a coal mine, you can't see carbon monoxide. So people would die of toxic gas poisoning, and they had to figure out a way to detect it without being able to develop modern technology to detect it. So what they did is they would bring in a canary in a cage with them into the mine. And so if the canary died, because they were sensitive to toxic fumes and stuff more so than humans were, and a canary would collapse and fall over long before a human would be affected. So if you're in a coal mine, you have a canary in a cage, and your canary dies, get the hell out of your coal mine. Like it's an indication that something's going on that is maybe not good.
Yep.
So
it plays off of the. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was gonna say and the other part of that is a digital website, modern like IT canary comes from like if a company gets a gag order from, for example, the FBI, because they're investigating somebody and they force you as a company to comply and turn over someone's information or do something with their account or tap it into some kind of like monitoring system, they can say, oh, and you're not allowed to tell anybody you're doing this. Well, if you have a canary system and the canary just happens to not chirp anymore, then I don't know what the legal, like I'm not a lawyer or anything, but the idea is that you can allow the canary to expire, but still satisfy the gag order by not telling anybody the details of what's going on. So if you see your canary die, you might know that something's going on with your account that nobody can tell you about or that you don't know. So
essentially, the First Amendment prevents you from being conscripted by the government to engage in coerced speech. So updating your code base to, say reset the timer on your warrant canary would be something that if they mandated it would violate the First Amendment. So you're not required to do that. So you set a canary on a timer and you reset it if you haven't received a request and you just stop doing it. They can't give you an order that says I have to go out. You have to go out and update your canary so that people don't know.
Yeah,
you can't do that.
That's the concept there. So and then my idea was to extend that to proof reports, basically, to see if it fails the proof report. Maybe that's not a canary situation, but some other indicator. So okay, it looks like I over-explained. So you knew about the coal miners, you just didn't know how it applied to websites and stuff. So there's the rundown on that, more or less. I probably butchered the explanation, but whatever.
I thought the background was on canaries and coal mines was
what's a canary? Well, it's a bird.
Yellow feathers.
Full stop.
Yeah.
Often hunted by Sylvester the cat.
Yeah.
All right, man. So cool. That's been a DENDAO call. Thanks for the input, especially on how to deal with people that maybe should stop doing certain things with the tagging and stuff like that. What else? Just made fart noises with my mouth. I'm sorry. I can't think of anything else right now.
It's an hour.
It's an hour. Well, let's get out of here. Let's run through the updates. Were you going to say something, I am?
No, I can't think of anything else.
Okay.
That's all I was thinking. We're good.
Cool. Well, thanks for all that. Questions. Submit questions. Submit them all to, there's 3 different places that you can submit them on Den. Tuesday through Thursday, we do live shows where we answer all the questions, talk about all the things. And one of them is on Tuesday with Super Happy Dragon Lucky. Joe hosts that. You get updates on Dragon Chain and from Den. And you have an opportunity each week to ask a question. He has an AMA that's the top 3 get in every single week. So you can ask Joe questions there on Tuesdays. That's 11 a.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Central. And I guess that'd be 8 in the morning Pacific time. On Wednesday, 9 a.m. Eastern. Coffee with Den. There, much like this meeting, there is a link at the top. So today we had the link up here. It's a StreamYard link. On Coffee with Den, over in the Coffee with Den layer, there'll be a link. It'll either say click here or it'll say something related to join the call or whatever. It's also a StreamYard link. Anybody can join. And we talk about, we usually at least briefly hit on whatever topic we have, but really it's an open to all denizens to discuss things that they care about. And you get rewarded in all of these shows for participation. World Blockchain Roundtable is what we did today. That's on Thursdays, 11 a.m. Eastern time, 10 Central. We just tried out a new format for the first time today, which I think was really good. Today's episode was great. That's in the World Blockchain Roundtable layer. Submit questions next week. The topic is, I have already forgotten. Well, there's a topic, and you can find it in the layer, and it's next week. So leave questions in there.
It's a game show next week.
Us. No, I don't think it is next week.
Oh,
I think there was something got moved. There was a DAO vote for it. It's over there. It's all in there published. So go search it out. I'm sorry, I don't have the info in front of me. But all those are rewarded. You get ownership of the layer that it's hosted in just by participating. So go do it. Yeah, and then this call is at 3 p.m. Eastern or noon. And this is not a show. It's just us figuring out how to run things and do better. So thanks for all the help with that. Thanks Hyperion Frequency and Juicy J for swinging by in chat.
Yep. Oh, next one is blockchain and climate, by the way. I'm pretty sure.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Cool.
Yeah, I like that a lot. And I feel the same way about that as I do like voting and stuff like that. Even if you don't agree with like whether or not the climate crisis is real or not, the topic is how do you apply a blockchain to validate what is real and what is not and stuff like that. So it should be great. Exactly. I think I put that poorly, but you should know what I mean. So cool. Let's get out of here, guys. Have a good weekend. Right. I'll be here tomorrow on Den. You can find me around Den and stuff, and I'll see you then. Have a good one. Bye. All the things.
Cheers,
Here's
folks.
A song called Enter the Dragon from Y'all Weird.
Because that goal will serve to organize and measure the best.
Adaptable, raw capital, label radical yet rational. A tactical approach is palpable if this animal is fallible, but that conclusion is laughable. So with for all detachable from the mandible, you see it now.